Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, I'm James Salvatore, and today's an exciting day because next to me here is the newly redesigned S-Class. This is the S580, so pretty much as good as it gets for now, and this is a beautiful spec at that. So in today's video, I'm going to kind of go over just an overview of the S-Class. We're going to go over some of the new styling changes, we're going to go over the interior tech, and we're going to take it for a drive. But if you're looking for a more in-depth video, be sure to check out my technical features video. I'm going to put a link in the description below, so after you're done watching this, you can watch that. And with that said, let's get right into it.
The 2021 S580 marks the introduction of the 7th generation S-Class, representing the very best of what Mercedes is capable of producing. From its 4-liter bi-turbo V8 that produces 496 horsepower and 516 foot-pounds of torque, to its cutting-edge technology, materials, and supreme levels of comfort, this new generation makes an impressive statement to the world.
Now, the new S-Class has started a lot of controversial discussions when it comes to the looks. And I have to say, I wasn't a huge fan of this look when I first saw it on the release video. However, seeing it in person has really changed my mind. It's a real fresh take on the evolution of the S-Class, in my opinion, and it's a really revolutionary design. It's not so much an evolution, it really does feel completely different. Like, say for instance, just take a look at the new grille. It's definitely a lot more compact. They've gone away from doing the bigger front ends because last gen we saw all those grills start getting bigger and bigger and bigger. However, this is kind of like said, okay, we're done making the grills bigger. Let's kind of like bring it back to normal again. And the headlights are completely different from last gen. You know, last gen's headlights were kind of like a swooping design, a little bit bigger. These are more sleek and like more aggressive looking. It's definitely a more tightened, more modern design. And the rear is very different as well. Gone is kind of like the fishtail look of the last generation, and honestly, almost it's like copying the new design language of the A-Class with these really narrow, streamlined taillights that run half the length of the car. Now, it's an attractive design. However, I almost feel like the design language is now being influenced from the bottom to the top. Now, go with me. Last generation and generations prior to that, the S-Class has always kind of dictated the design language for the rest of the cars in the model lineup. Now, it seems like this seemed to start with the A-Class, this look, and it's made its way up to the S-Class, which is pretty interesting. Just something I noticed. And moving on to the inside, it's very different than the last gen. Last gen's car kind of wrapped around you, and I don't know, just very different overall, more classic design. This is very ultra sleek and modern. For the driver's gauge cluster, you have a 12.8-inch 3D screen, which is very cool. I like that they give you the option to turn it off because for some people it might annoy you, but very, very cool overall. And then you get a 12.8-inch main infotainment screen. Now, the back of the S-Class is definitely the place to be. It's super spacious, you have a lot of leg room, and plenty of adjustments. You have heated and cooled seats back here. You can control the seat in front of you. And you have shades on the windows, the rear, and overhead. And in general, it's just a very comfortable place to be. However, there are additional packages you can get. You can get the executive package, which gives you a footrest, gives you monitors on the backs of the seats, and just gives you overall just a few more convenience features. And in the back here, you could have a champagne cooler if need be. However, I cover more of that in my technical review. So let's get to driving the car. All right, first impressions getting into the new S-Class. The handling characteristics are definitely similar to the last generation. However, I think that this is sprung even softer than the 6th generation, and somehow they've managed to reduce body roll a little bit more, and this particular car doesn't have the active multi-contour seats, so you really would feel it if there was a lot of body roll in this car. In terms of acceleration, I mean, the car is very quiet, so you don't really hear the motor, but yeah, it really does pick up and go if you needed to. Just such a smooth ride. And one of the things I am going to try is the adaptive cruise control, because I have it in my S-Class. However, I have the last generation of it. And I gotta say, there is a huge difference. This will actively map out other cars on the road, similar to a Tesla. If you're used to the Tesla's autopilot, this is kind of similar to that. So once you set it, it knows all the cars around you. Now it doesn't only look at the 2 lanes to the sides of you, but it will actually map out the whole area around you as you're going. And it'll do the steering, braking, acceleration. And you don't even have to put your hands on the wheel every few seconds because it has a sensor that reads your eye level and it'll know if you're paying attention. However, one of the most impressive features of the new S-Class, I have to say, is the Burmester 40 audio system. It's absolutely spectacular. I have never experienced a system better than this. They even have these little vibrator motors in the seats to enhance the feeling of the bass that go with the vibrations of the bass, so you really feel that punch in your back. All the tones are clear, and with the added tweeters all around you, just the clarity of this system is absolutely amazing. They have multiple surround modes. Definitely one of the highlights of this car for me. And as I said earlier, the next gen autopilot is truly something to behold. Now, I haven't played much with the dynamic modes in this car. However, if we go into Sport Plus, I'm just wondering how much the suspension actually tightens up. Give it a second to adjust. Even in Sport Plus mode, you do feel that this is a big car. The suspension slightly firms up. The response is a little bit better. However, the body roll is still going to be there. It's a big, heavy car. It's not trying to be a sports car. And that's one of the things that I love about the S-Class, 4-door especially, is it's not a car trying to be something it's not. The S-Class has always stood for effortless performance, comfort, and groundbreaking technology. And that hasn't changed with the newest generation at all, in my opinion. Now, one thing I have to say is, compared to the last generation, the new S-Class is extremely nimble because of the rear wheel steering. Now, I just made a turn right there that normally you would never be able to do in an S-Class, but the rear wheel steering has definitely helped make this car feel like a much shorter vehicle. And the sound deadening in this car is truly next level. The last generation, you could still hear some noise, coming into the cabin. And between the active noise canceling, the double pane windows, and just in general, their new sound deadening technologies, I have to say this car is really, really quiet. Like, say for instance, the dealership that I'm filming at is right next to the railroad tracks. And as I was sitting in the car, I realized there was a train passing and I couldn't even hear any of it, which is really something, because if you've ever been near a train crossing or train tracks, you know that they're pretty loud. You're definitely going to hear it. And I was sitting in here and heard absolutely nothing, which I thought was spectacular. Now, in terms of the overall ergonomics of the interior, I have to say it will definitely take some getting used to. For younger people like myself, I'm sure that the new screens are welcome. You could control pretty much everything from the steering wheel. The left pad controls the driver's information center, and the right trackpad controls the infotainment system, so you never have to take your hands off the wheel, which I think is a great feature. However, seeing that there's really no physical buttons left, I'm just wondering how that's going to do with the older demographic that drives these cars, because, first and foremost, the S-Class has always been known as the older gentleman's car. And it will be interesting to see how easily older folks adapt to this new technology. I think that Mercedes maybe should have kept some physical buttons, especially when it comes to the climate control at least. Because I think for some older folks it may be a little confusing and frustrating. It has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as wired, and it has multiple wireless charging pads throughout the car, which is definitely super convenient. Everything's USB-C, so it's future-proof. But I think it's definitely safe to say that Mercedes is focusing on younger audiences now with the new S-Class, with the way they've set it up. One thing I haven't touched upon yet is the heads-up display, which is huge in this car, mind you. I have not seen a heads-up display larger in any other vehicle than this. It's just truly something. But the augmented reality will literally project arrows onto the street where you need to turn. I've never seen something like that in a car before. It will actually show you a picture in front of you using the live camera of the street exactly where you need to turn with arrows pointing to it. I don't know how you can get much smarter than that when it comes to navigation directions. Truly just something, you know, that sets this car apart from the rest, which the S-Class has always done. The S-Class has always set itself apart from the rest and brought new technologies to the market that many other cars adapt later on. So I'd say overall, the new S-Class accomplishes everything that an S-Class sets out to accomplish. It's comfortable, it's luxurious, it brings new technology to the table, and it just is so relaxing to drive. I'm really happy that they didn't do what a lot of other luxury car manufacturers have done and turn their flagships into cars that are like half sports car, half luxury car. No, they've left the S-Class alone. The S-Class is all about comfort and luxury just in general, and it stayed true to that. This is just such a comfortable, relaxing car to drive. When you're in here, you just don't have a care in the world, honestly. And between that, the new tech, and the amazing stereo system in this car, there's not going to be many other cars that will give you even close to the experience that you get in this car, in my opinion. And if you're lucky enough to have a driver, it's not bad in the back seat either. All right, well, as you can see, the new S-Class is an absolutely amazing car. And I really look forward to seeing what this holds for the future with the upper trim levels, like the new AMG models that are going to be coming out and the new Maybach models that are coming out. However, if this video wasn't enough for you, keep in mind I do have the technical features video linked in the description below, so be sure to check that out if you're wanting for a little bit more. And be sure to give me a like and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on future videos. Before we go though, I'd like to say a special thanks to my friends down at Mercedes Benz at Fairfield, Connecticut for loaning this car to me and making the video possible. They're an awesome, super helpful group of people to work with. And if you're in the market for an S-Class, specifically this car, I'm going to leave a link to their inventory below, as well as to their website so that you can view their other inventory. And with that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next video.